Hey y'all, this is Abby from Catching Colorflies Designs. You may also know me from my blog, Mama's Gone Crafty. You know that I love to make giant paper flowers and small flower designs. And today I'm going to go over real quick a live screen capture video here of how to lay out your Eden rose petals. I just did my first live screen capture the other day on all the other petal layouts for the rest of my flowers, the general petal layouts. The roses vary just a little bit, so I just wanted to walk through another version of this so that anyone who's using my Eden rose design, my Sybil or Regina rose design can use this to lay their rose petals out when using a cutting machine to make sure that their flowers turn out right and they get the right petal sizes. So I'm going to use my Eden style flower today, my Eden template. I'm using Cricut software here. You can do all of this in Silhouette as well. Cricut's just my personal preference. I don't endorse anything with them. It's just my personal preference. You're going to want to upload your images. After you get your files from me, you'll need to unzip them from the compressed zip. You can copy and paste the files out onto your desktop, whatever works for you, and you'll upload them here just like you do any other file. I'm not going to go through that since that's pretty basic of just uploading any image in your computer and browsing. I've already uploaded mine here. So I'm going to select my Eden Rose Center and my Eden Petal and bring them in. Hide the center for now. One of the reasons I wanted to just go over this tutorial is because sometimes when people upload the petals to their software, it doesn't read them as the same size as I saved them. I'm not sure quite why that is. I think it wants to assume you want to cut everything on a 12 by 12, and we work with 8.5 by 11 a lot. If you've made paper flowers before, you can of course use 12 by 12, but it's easier to find a more cost-effective paper through 8.5 by 11, and just being able to find more choices that way, more colors. It's easier to find if you're shopping at a craft store. So I work with 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and I just think that's the best choice, and a lot of people like that. So as you can see here, I brought in my petal, and it's at 10 inches and 10 inches, so that's over 10 inches. So that's not within 8.5 by 11, so it didn't upload how I saved it. So in order for it to be where we need it to be, we need it to be about 8.5 right here. If you want to stretch the petal, you can always unlock it and kind of make it just a little longer if you want to. Sometimes I do that. So this is going to be your extra large petal for your Eden rose. It's going to be your first layer. You're going to cut 8 of them. We're going to duplicate that. Your paper's going to be laying portrait when you go to cut that on your cut screen, so just pay attention to your margins where you're placing your paper. I'm going to hide this petal. Bring this one over here. Duplicate it again. And you can see here, when we put these petals side by side, there's a ton of extra space that's wasted, all that paper, and we don't want to do that. So we're going to flip the petal and bring it as close as we can to one another. Select all of them, and I'm going to shrink it down to be within 11 inches. Now you're going to want to make sure that before you go to your cut screen, you use your attach tool, because if you don't use your attach tool, you see here that it changes your petal layout, and we don't want that. So just use your attach button or whatever you call it in Silhouette if that's what you're using. This would be your large petal, your second layer for your Eden style rose, or you could be using this with Regina or Sybil style that I've created. You're going to cut 8 of these as well. It's going to be laying landscape, be 11 inches along the top, 2 petals to a page. I'm going to duplicate this whole thing. Bring this other one up here. I'm going to shrink this down. Duplicate one more time. Now, this would be your medium petal, your third layer for your Eden rose, your rose layout. We're within 8.5 here, about, and 10 here. So this would be a portrait layout. And when I say portrait and landscape, I'm just meaning the orientation of the paper that you're laying it on your mat. I have a picture at the end in case you're not 100% familiar with portrait and landscape terminology. So you would cut 4 petals to a page for this one. You're going to want to use your attach tool again so that they don't move when you go to your next page. And our last layer, oops. We move these over. You're going to need to detach these so you can copy them. I'm going to copy 2 more petals. Select all, shrink them so that they're within 11 inches here, and just a little bit more, so we're within 8.5 here. So you would lay your paper landscape style on your mat. You would cut 6 petals to a page. This would be your 4th layer for your Eden rose. You're going to need 8 of these petals according to the tutorial video when you watch the Eden tutorial. It could be 6. It's 6 to 8, but I tend to usually use 8 just because I like extra petals in my roses, but it's not an exact science, so 6 is fine, or you can use more petals if you want your rose to look a little fuller. Okay, so you can create another layer of even smaller petals if you find you have a lot of space left over in the center of your rose. You can always create, cut an extra sheet out, or go down a little smaller and create an extra set of slightly smaller petals. Totally fine to do that. I've done it too. The video doesn't show it that way, but you can do it that way. Of course, before you cut this, you'd want to use your attach tool as well. So before I go to the next part, I'm just going to walk you back through what we just did real quick, so you're totally clear on our layout. This was the first petal we did. It fits on an 8.5 by 11 layer paper portrait layout. Cut 8 of these. This is your large layer, your second layer of petals for Eden. You would put 2 to a page, landscape layout with the 11 inch along the top. Cut 8 of these. This would be your third layer, or your medium petal. You put 4 to an 8.5 by 11, 8.5 side along the top. This is portrait layout. You would cut 8 of these. And this last one here is your small petal, 6 to a page, 11 inch side along the top. This is landscape layout. You would cut 6 to 8 of these. In the video, I use a circle to glue the petals to. If you watch my other videos where I'm using more of a universal basic method, I generally will build the petals together and then just put a circle over the back to close the hole. But with the rose designs, I like to actually glue each petal to the circle. I do include a circle SVG, but if you're using cutting software, you already obviously have a circle, so whichever you prefer. I use a 3.5 inch circle in the tutorial. If you want your flower to be just a little bit bigger, you can just change the size of the circle. So if you want it to be a couple inches bigger, you can go up to 5 inches. You may need to add a few extra petals in that case because you're creating a bigger surface space. So you may need to just add in a few extra small petals to the center to really fill it out more. But if you want to stay around where I am in my tutorial video, stay around 3.5 to 4 inches with a circle for the base. So we'll just leave it right there. Lastly, you're going to need your center for your rose. This is our Eden center. And as a general rule of thumb, cutting 2 to a page is usually pretty good. So I'm just going to duplicate this. Move them side by side here. There's really no way to get them much closer than this when you're dealing with the centers. Putting mine within the 11 inches here, so you would lay your paper landscape with the 11 inch along the top. And you probably want to use your attach button just to make sure they stay really close together. And cut 2 of those. I used 2 centers built together in the tutorial video for my roses, so you'll see me use 2 centers like this. If you're wanting to downsize your rose, just to have like a nice variation of rose sizes, you can do everything we just did and simply just don't use the extra large petal. Just subtract that and start here with your large petals as your first layer. You can still create an extra layer where you would have created the extra large layer, but just use the smaller petals for an overall smaller flower if you like. Sometimes you'll notice if you do downsize the flower a little bit that the center might look a little too big. It just doesn't look proportional anymore since there aren't larger petals. And then you can just downsize your center by an inch or so to just make it look a little more proportional. That's just a side tip. I don't teach that in the tutorial, but some people ask me, how do you downsize your rose for a size variation? And that's how I do it. I just subtract using the extra large petal, and you can downsize the centers a little to make it look like it's more proportional together. And you can also downsize your circle too if you want to make the petals, closer together so things aren't so spread out and big. So that is how you lay out your Eden rose. Just remember to use your attach button, very important. Pay attention to the on-screen margins with the direction you're going to lay your paper. You can use this for Regina, Sybil, and Eden style designs that I sell in my shop. And that's about it. I hope that helps, and I hope that helps you get a beautiful rose that you want. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me kindly, please, in the comments. I will answer you as soon as I am able to do so. And thank you all so much for supporting my business. It means the world, and I really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day.